Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
No, we hope that USIC-C will be required to be present during the next hearing. Ba't andito ka para you have all the legal opinions na favorable to the public interest. Salamat.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I would like to remind our resource persons from the airlines that you have a franchise and you have a commitment, because franchise is actually a privilege that was given to you, of course, with the service that you provide to our countrymen. Cebu Pacific's franchise was given in 1991. Philippine Airlines, Airphil, Express, PAL Express was granted in 2022. There are a few things that you need to comply with, particularly your reportorial requirements, what activities you have, any expansion, development, etc. I know that Philippine Airlines hasn't submitted one yet, but maybe because they only had one in 2022. Cebu Pacific has yet also to submit that. But I would like to say that, you know, this is really the primary responsibility of the CAB. Hindi kayo dapat nagbibigay ng permit to operate pag wala pang compliance of reporting sa Congress. You should have been able to check that. So, I don't know, I'm sure the representative of the CAB is familiar with this because you've been there since 2014. So, there are penalties involved, and I think, Madam Chair, that eventually we're going to have to review all of these commitments that they have made through their franchise. Otherwise, I think that they're taking it for granted. Just a reminder, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sen. Grace. Sen. Risa?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Wait, nakalimutan pa natin si Mia. Any statement?
Madam Chair, members of the Senate, again, thank you for inviting the MIA. Being the major gateway in the Philippines po, of course, we play a key role. We have our own issues ourselves, but the airlines also have some issues on sometimes. And we would like to promote a collaborative and shared responsibility in terms of the approach on how we solve all of these issues. Lahat naman po ito may solusyon, basta magkakasama at maayos ang ating paghahanap ng mga solusyon na kinakailangan. So the proactive stance, as mentioned by USEC-C, that's being espoused by the MIA board right now po, is of course reaping its benefit. Actually, what we can report to you since last year po, mentioned by ED Arcilia, was there was an airline that was lagging in terms of the metrics, itong on-time performance and cancellations. But since we've intervened last year, we were able to see a very drastic improvement in their operations right now. So from around 50 to 60% on-time performance last year, they've been logging 70 to 80% this year, even during the times na nagkakaproblema po.
Which airline is that?
This is Philippines Air Asia po. We had an action plan for them to improve last year. And through the intervention, of course, of the committee, which is composed of the DOTR, Civil Aeronautics Board, MIAA, at CAAP, may action plan silang sinabit sa amin so that, well, simple lang po eh. They should mount a schedule that they can support reliably. Similarly po, ito po yung approach natin ngayon with Philippine Airlines in Cebu Pacific. In the past few weeks po, we've been talking to them on how they can adjust their network plans para po ma-reduce itong mga nakikita nating delays at cancellations. We've actually seen a degradation of our schedules since March po. Nag-peak po tayo noong March 2023. In fact, March 2023 po, we had the most number of flights since the pandemic po. We had 23,400 flights in Manila, but we logged 80% on-time performance, which is very good. All of them were prepared for the peak, di ba? Kasi papasok na rin po. Pero as when we went to April...
Kasama dyan sa ano nyo is the foreign airlines?
Yes po. Total system po to.
Okay. So can you, you can just submit to the committee, ano yung level of performance ng
Yes po.
local airlines natin compared
Yes po.
dun sa
We can
foreign
submit a
airlines?
report po on a per airline basis per month din po so that we can compare. And then we noticed na nung April, bumaba na to 75% on-time performance. Then come May, naging 67%. And as of June po, as of today, we are just at 57% on-time performance. So we were dropping 10% each month since we peaked, of course, nung March and April. So we've noted already na may mga issues. That's why we sat down with the airlines. Ano ba talaga yung problema? So meron po tayong mga na-mention nila that the spare parts issue that they're resolving. But apart from that, tinitignan rin po natin yung ibang factors. Katulad po ng na-mention na meron tayong mga bird strikes, red lightning alert. Marami po tayong pwedeng mai-improve. For the red alerts naman po, nagsimula naman po yung effect niya sa schedules natin nung papasok ang tag-ulan. So nung April, we had 3 days na nagka-red alert. Nung May po, we had 11 days. And as of June right now, kahit nasa June 21 pa lang po tayo, 11 days na po yung red alerts. But mababawasan din naman po yan. And in terms of the red lightning alert, I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that in the airport. These are in place so that we can ensure that we protect our ground crew na nagtatrabaho. But we're continuously trying to enhance that po. So in fact, last year, the red alert zone was at 9 kilometers from the airport. In collaboration with the airlines and the safety experts, we were able to reduce that to 5 kilometers para po mabawasan. But right now, we're also sitting with them and PAGASA para further look into how we can enhance this para mas ma-minimize natin yung impact sa stop operations. But at the same time, we do not compromise safety on our ground personnel kasi napaka-importante din po nito. So apart from that, we agree po in the transparency in terms of the timely advice to the passengers. Napaka-importante po na ahead of time, if they can already advise cancellations and delays para hindi po sa airport nagkakaproblema. Kasi kapag hindi po na-abisuhan ng mga pasahero, nagpupunta sa airport, nagkukumpulan, doon po tayo nagkakaroon ng congestion. And if we don't resolve these delays and cancellations soon enough, of course, magkakaroon po tayo ng systematic problem. May spillover yan. Kaya po mababa ang on-time performance ngayon, kaya mataas ang air traffic delays kasi hindi po nasusunod ang kanilang mga slots. So we will look into that proactively po. We're working with the airlines. In fact, we met with PAL yesterday and tomorrow we'll be meeting with Cebu Pacific as well so that we can have concrete action plans that we can report to the body as well, sir and ma'am. So to close that, we are one with the government and we thank the Senate po for this opportunity. And of course, for all the advice that you've given us and of course the air carriers, and we will make sure we will put that into action and report that at the soonest possible time po. Thank you po.
Sen. Risa.
Salamat, Madam Chair. Just one last quick comment. Bunga nung isang sinabi ni OIC ko. I think yung isang hinahanap din natin, and salamat muli sa Chair for holding this hearing and filing the resolution, ay a bit more parity between the passengers and the airlines. Kasi maya't maya, di ba, I mean, pag kami mga pasahero nahuhuli sa flight, mapaparusahan tayo, we miss the flight. Pero kapag ganyan, canceled ang flight, delayed ang flight, parang wala namang perwisyo on the part of the airline. So hindi sa gusto kong maperwisyo ng mga airline, pero kaya I think it's a really good idea. Mag-look into tayo as the chair has initiated, tinanong din nga ni Sen. Rafi kanina, let's really look into legislating the air passengers Bill of Rights for more satisfaction in taking flights, less resentment, and less itong mga avoidable na mga problema. Kasi mas ma-empower talaga yung mga pasahero sa ating lahat ng mga karapatan. Salamat, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Siguro last na lang, Kayo Saksi. Pag napasa namin yung sinasabi na consumer rights, is still there a need for this air passenger Bill of Rights?
Hindi na siguro, madam. When we have the consumer protection legislation well-crafted, that will actually subsume all the other parts. We also don't want to impose legislation by legislative fiat, especially on a complex sector like airlines. Mas maganda talaga hands-off from government. Unless it affects consumers, then we can step in. But yung mga metrics that can change with technology. So we don't want to step into that realm unless we know what we're doing. Thank you.
And then kasama din siguro doon yung responsibility kung saan talaga pwede mag-redress yung ating mga kababayan.
The
Sa
governance
moment,
framework,
diba?
madam. Which
I
is
don't know if yung DTI pwede din bang
we've actually convened the DTI, madam, on this aspect also. Kasi paminsan nagtuturoan yung DTI and CAB. But regardless of the tuturoan, our perspective has always been, doesn't matter. If you're a citizen, doesn't matter kung sinong ahensya. That should be the overarching. Yung last point lang, madam, yung 5,000, that's actually a false example. 5,000 pesos, it's not the issue. ang airlines, takot sila sa CPCN. CAB can ask the airlines to do anything. Who cares about the 5,000, 5 million? It's importante yung economic regulator. That's more important in an era of deregulated fares. So yung 5,000, baliit, that's setting us back in the enforcement. I think that's a fallacy.
Madam
Anything-
Chair,
Yes, Sen. Grace.
just to summarize our discussion, also to help us move forward with future hearings, these are the things, the points that I've observed that we need. Rebooking should be easier, no additional charge or burden. A quicker refund. CAB should be called to a hearing to explain also how they've been regulating the airlines. And also CAAP, as requested by Senator Tulfo, to assure us of the safety of our airlines. More airline reps and live representatives to attend to phone calls, complaints, and to give guidance, most especially. Also a reminder to our airlines, annual reportorial submissions, particularly of the two airlines that we have been asking today to submit those. CAB should not grant permission to these airlines to operate without the submissions to Congress. So yung sinasabi ng ating USEC na CPCN, lahat yan, konektado dito sa reporting na dapat ay binibigay sa Kongreso. We also have to look into the Passenger Bill of Rights and see if the Consumer Protection Bill will actually cover all of that. Again, I agree that government should not really over-regulate. We have to give our businesses a chance to be able to self-regulate. However, again, if the consumers are affected, we really have to step in. So those are my observations, Madam Chair, as representing the Committee on Public Services. Thank you again for calling for this hearing.
Thank you, Senator Grace. And our Majority Floor Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva, also has an opening statement, but will just submit for insertion into the record. Any last words from our resource person? Okay na ho tayo? Sige, well, unang-una, maraming salamat sa ating mga resource person sa pag-share ng inyong experiences sa ating mga airline at sa iba't ibang ahensyang dumalo sa hearing na ito. Kahit paano ay nagkaroon ng konting paglilinaw tungkol sa iba't ibang issue na pumuperwisyo sa ating mga pasahero. What has been highlighted so far in this hearing is the evident lack of customer handling. Our passengers, it seems, have nowhere to turn for their grievances dahil sa kawalan ng human touch, lalong naaagrabyado ang ating mga pasahero. Over the course of the next hearings, we hope to be able to unearth more of the issues surrounding our airlines. Umaasa din tayo na sa pamamagitan ng investigasyon natin ay makakalikha tayo ng polisiya na tutugon sa ating mga problema. Hindi po ito finger pointing ang target natin, kundi ang paghahanap ng epektibong solusyon. Let's all work together, the government, the private sector, and our constituents to uphold the welfare of the riding public. Muli, maraming salamat, and there being no other matters to take up, this meeting is now adjourned. Suspended. Thank you.